I spent 2 years accommodating a diagnosis that didn't exist. The lie was so complete that his entire family had agreed to it. I want to start with the stew because the stew is where everything visible happened, even though the actual problem was somewhere else entirely. Marcus loved one specific stew from a catering place near us. Loved it the way people love things that aren't really about the thing. Ate it several times a week. Couldn't eat leftovers. Wouldn't accept substitutes. It cost $47 a serving, and we were splitting bills roughly 70-30 because he worked part-time and was building a side business and had existing debt. The math was not working, and I was the one watching it not work. I researched recipes, reverse engineered the dish as best I could, and made a version at home that he ate happily for 2 weeks. Then he saw me add tomato paste and announced he hated tomatoes. They weren't a safe food. I needed to make it without. I said it wouldn't taste the same. He said make it without anyway. I did, and something was off, and instead of landing on tomato paste as the variable, he accused me of changing other things deliberately to make him admit he'd been wrong. I want to be honest about what happened next. We were at the restaurant picking up an order, and I asked the chef about the ingredients. I did it without warning Marcus, which wasn't ideal, but we'd discussed asking eventually, and I genuinely believed that discovering his perfect safe food contained the ingredient he told me wasn't safe would resolve things. I thought relief. I thought now we can make it at home. He walked out of the restaurant without speaking and didn't eat the stew that night or ever again. His sister texted me to say I was a selfish asshole for taking his favorite food away to win an argument. I spent 4 months cycling between believing I'd done something genuinely terrible and believing I was being held responsible for a natural consequence of a position that wasn't tenable. I couldn't make the stew without tomato paste. I couldn't afford the stew from the restaurant indefinitely. I tried every middle path available. I didn't know what I was supposed to have done instead. We went to couples counseling. He moved out. We stayed in something undefined for months, not together, not separated, talking and occasionally seeing each other while I tried to figure out if I could get back to seeing him the way I had before. He cooked the stew at home as an apology, which should have felt like something, but instead made me furious because it meant he'd been capable of making it himself the whole time and had chosen not to. When I didn't immediately accept the gesture as resolution, he acted like I was being unreasonable. He said sorry and then behaved like someone who didn't think they'd done anything wrong, which is its own specific kind of crazy making. I kept trying to locate what I actually wanted from him and couldn't. I told myself I had until my lease ended to decide. I didn't make it to the lease. Started drinking again. His friend's house was not a good environment, and he went, as he put it when we finally talked, off the rails. In one of those conversations, he told me something he'd apparently been sitting on for years. He isn't autistic. He has bipolar disorder. He was diagnosed in high school and felt ashamed of it for reasons rooted in something he'd absorbed about what the diagnosis meant about who he was. So he didn't tell people. And his family, his parents, his sister, who texted me to call me a selfish asshole, had decided collectively to tell people he was autistic instead. All of them. For years. A coordinated, sustained, family-wide substitution of one thing for another, because the real thing felt like too much to own. I sat with him while he explained this and felt something I can only describe as the specific vertigo of a floor giving way. Not surprise exactly. Something more like recalibration. Every memory of the past 2 years running back through a different filter. All the accommodations and the research and the conversations about neurodivergence and safe foods and how his brain worked. All of it passing through the new information and coming out different. The stew he loved had tomato paste in it, and he'd been eating it happily for years. He'd known there was probably tomato in it and eaten it anyway, because it wasn't actually about the tomato. I still don't fully know what it was about. I know that whatever it was, it lived in something other than what I'd been told. I have him blocked everywhere now. I'm moving back to my sister's at the end of the year. I've been in therapy, and I've talked about this until I've run out of ways to say it, which is its own strange finish line. What I keep coming back to isn't the lying, though the lying was enormous. It's the way I assembled my whole approach to him around information that wasn't true. The careful architecture of someone trying to be a good partner to a person who hadn't told her who he actually was. I tried so hard to understand a brain he'd described incorrectly. I researched, I adjusted, I made the stew. He ate it. He knew the whole time.